I'm Bridget, and James has done a great job of introducing Bitnami, so maybe I don't need to focus on that so much. But today has been all about packaging and how the convenience that this packaging provides creates this great user experience. And I believe it's this user experience that drives adoption and keeps our customers happy. And as software developers, we tend to think a lot about the user experience for our customers. But today I'd like to focus a little bit more on what it is that enables us to achieve that. So I'd like to focus on the impact of the tools that we use, the convenience that they provide, and also how we package them, and how all of this combined is key in creating a great development experience within our teams, which leaves them free to focus on providing a great user experience for our customers. So why the focus on tools? So I work for Bitnami as part of their internal tools team, creating the tools which are used to package up the software into a variety of package formats. So creating cloud VM images and container images, and also local and native installers. Now, I've been a developer of tools for most of my career, making software for other software developers. I didn't start out on this path intentionally. I applied for my first job as a C and C++ toolchain engineer because I thought compilers were cool, but I think I've probably got a different definition of cool to most people. But I've stayed within this area of development because I find it really exciting and motivating to see what the software I've made has enabled its users to achieve and to do. And over the course of my career, I find myself caring not just about what we ship, but thinking about how we actually create what we ship to our customers. And for me, I believe that the tools that we use are have a really significant impact on this, especially those tools which we create for ourselves. So yeah, that's what I'd like to focus on today. So when I say internal tools, I'm specifically thinking of the software that we create to support our development. And almost every software company that I know of has a collection of these kinds of tools. And they get created to serve different kinds of purposes. So for example, you might have something that generates random data for testing, or scripts to spin up environments for integration testing, things like that. But common to all of these development tools is just this idea of convenience. We create these tools to make our lives easier. So I think it's safe to say that no one here will enjoy performing tedious and repetitive tasks. And as humans, we're actually pretty bad at it. So once we lose focus, we're more likely to make mistakes and get things wrong. So that's why I've really enjoyed the freedom of working in the software tools industry, specifically thinking how we can automate all of this and make our lives a bit easier. And I think it's important to think about the value that we generate from automating these procedures, because what it means is that our developers are then free to focus on actually providing value to the customers. So we can focus on contributing to our products more quickly and with more ease, and rather than spending time figuring out how lots of different software components work together. And I think containers have played a really big part in this, because one thing that we do at Bitnami is create containerized development environments for all of our products. So that means that on day one, whenever you start on a new project, all you have to do is run the Docker image, and then you've got everything that you need to start contributing to the code straight away. And they also have, automation also has this significant impact on the quality of software that we produce. So if we can avoid making the mistakes that might come from repetitive tasks, then hopefully we'd hope that this would avoid making assumptions about our code, so assuming that it might work whenever it actually doesn't, and hopefully then we'll avoid introducing bugs into our code base. So the tools that we create, they can vary a lot in their usage. Sometimes they're just one-off things that we need to use, and then we discard them. But quite often, they become mission critical to our teams. And it's at this point when our tools sit directly between the developer They sit right in that pipeline between the developer and the end user, that I think it becomes necessary for us to think of these tools as treat them like we would our own products. So I think one thing to think about is if we're going to treat our tools like products, then all of a sudden you have users. I suppose you could call them customers within your company. And I think for any product that you're creating, the one thing you have to be sure of is that you're solving the user's problem. And if you aren't doing that, then there probably isn't much value in actually creating these tools at all. But you're in a unique situation where your users are in the company with you directly. Perhaps they're sitting at the desk next to you. So take advantage of that and actually speak to them and try and figure out their needs. This might seem really obvious, but I once had the unfortunate experience of using a tool which had been developed in secret away from its users for like 6 months, and by the time it was then released, without any user input, it just didn't fit our needs. It was complicated to use, and even though we were given training, it wasn't any use to us. So don't make that mistake. Talk to your users. So once you've figured out that you know that what you're creating solves the problem, how do you ensure an awesome developer experience? So this is where I'm going to talk about the 5 Ds of developer experience, which are docs, diagnostics, defaults, delivery, and docs. No, so I thought about this and I realized that the 5th one should probably actually be the combination of the 4 above, and that is creating that delightful experience for our teams. So I just want to talk about documentation, and I'd like you to think about some of the favorite tools and libraries that you use. And chances are they've got great documentation, because when presented with different options for the tools and libraries that we use, the documentation can be a deciding factor in helping you choose which one you want to use. So I think it's really beneficial to try and provide that same experience for documentation for your internal tools. So documentation should be clear, should be comprehensive and easy to search, and it really helps to include usage examples. And again, this seems obvious, but quite often with our internal tools, the documentation isn't always available or it isn't always up to date. And documentation is critical in helping users figure out how to use a tool. It's not usually the first place that they'll look for. And if they get stuck or they're new to the tool and the documentation isn't up to scratch, then they're stuck and they're blocked and not able to progress and provide value. And I just think that reading the code shouldn't be the first step that someone has to take in understanding why something works the way it does. So when I think about diagnostics, what I really mean is thinking about how we're providing information to the users of the tool to let them figure out about what it's doing. So for me, I think good tools will hide the complexity of the operations and procedures that it's performing, but it should allow the user to inspect and delve deeper if they need to find out more details. And this can help the user find problems with their own code and their own inputs to the tool. So thinking about the log messages that you might provide, allow different levels to be specified, and if you're writing those logs for the user to consume, then try and provide context about how it relates to the inputs that they've provided. And it's also really important to have error messages that are clear and make sense to the user. So when we're writing error messages, we have a lot of context about what has happened at the point of failure, but the user of that tool won't have that context. So instead of telling the user what has gone wrong, tell them how to fix the problem instead. So for any tool, I think having a set of sensible defaults is really important. It should work out of the box without any configuration. Do the defaults make sense for the average use case? So I think researching how your customers are using the tools and how they're being most commonly used, and then try and make sure that your tool works well in those cases, and try and really polish that workflow. And if you have other tools as well, perhaps you have a suite of tools that you provide for your internal teams, then I think it's good to have some kind of pattern and consistency across them. And I think as users of these tools, then that reduces the number of things that you need to keep in your head at any one time. You don't need to remember that one tool performs like this and writes its log files here, and another tool does something completely different. And finally, for the 4 points, it's important to think about how you make your tools available to your teams. And that's where packaging is really important. So I think it's important to have a consistent way for your teams to get their hands on their tools. So in the past, I've encountered tools spread across different servers, each with their own access credentials, and each one then has its own build requirements, and it can just be a real nightmare. So make the tools available from one place, and even better, wrap them up in Docker containers, and then all you have to do is just pull that image and then get started and start running them. So I think we're well past, I hope that we're getting past the point of requiring our users to have to build things from source and install natively. And also think about the updates and the installation experience. So if you're using containers, you're kind of getting some of that installation experience. You're getting some of that for free, but updates as well. So I think it's been covered earlier on in the day about having tagged images. So one thing that we do with our development containers at Bitnami is, so at the end of every day, rebuilding and making sure that the latest version of all the tools are available in each of the containers. So that means that the following day, all a user has to do is just spin up a new container, and their host, the code that they've been writing on is mounted in a volume separately, so they can just start develop or continue their development kind of seamlessly, but with all the new versions of the tools. So finally, I think all of this combined creates that delightful experience for your teams. And so yeah, just to summarize, I believe that it's really important to treat your internal tools like you would your product. So talk to your users, solve their problems, and create that delightful experience for your teams, and allowing them to create delightful experience for your customers. Thank you very much.